The villagers had never seen anything like it. In the middle of the dusty road, a baby elephant stood frozen. Its small, wrinkled body was coated in mud, its ears trembling but never flapping. It did not move forward. It did not move back. Just stood there, eyes wide, as if staring at something no one else could see. Children peeked from behind their mothers. Farmers set down their baskets, whispering that the calf might be cursed. A few men tried clapping, shouting, even waving branches to scare aside. But the calf did not budge. Minutes turned into an hour. The village grew quiet. Only the low, broken rumbles from the baby's throat filled the silence. When rescuers finally arrived from the nearby sanctuary, they expected a frightened animal, but what they saw unsettled them. The elephant wasn't frightened. It was guarding. One man stepped closer, boots sinking into the dirt. He knelt just a few feet away, studying the ground beneath the calf. His breath caught. His face went pale. He turned to the others, voice shaking. You need to see this. Before we continue with this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Let us know in the comments where you are listening from. The rescuer's hand trembled as he brushed aside the dirt. It was nothing more than a faint impression at first, a shallow dip in the ground, a depression that seemed out of place on the flat road. But the calf's stance, legs rigid, body hovering protectively, suggested something hidden. He leaned closer. The smell of earth rose heavy, damp. The elephant let out a low, guttural rumble, and his heart jolted. He froze, palms up, whispering gently as if calming a frightened child. It's all right. We're not here to hurt you. The villagers pressing around the rope barrier, restless. A woman muttered that the creature was possessed. A young boy asked if it was sick. No one had answers. The rescuer signaled to his team. Another man stepped forward with a bucket of water and a bundle of bananas, placing them on the ground just out of reach. Normally, even a frightened calf would sniff, would shuffle toward food. This one did not. Its gaze never wavered from the soil beneath its body. They tried coaxing, gentle words, a tug at its trunk. Nothing. The elephant's cries grew sharper, more desperate. High-pitched squeals that pierced the still air and echoed through the trees. Each call felt like an alarm, pulling people from their homes, drawing a larger crowd. The rescuers exchanged glances. Something was very wrong. They circled slowly, careful not to provoke it. From each angle, they saw the same thing. The calf had planted itself squarely over the depression in the dirt. Its small, round feet were dug in. Every attempt to move it was met with resistance far beyond its size. The lead rescuer crouched again, brushing the surface with his fingertips. Beneath the packed layer of dust, the ground was looser, softer, as though something had disturbed it recently. He frowned. It's guarding. Another rescuer shook his head. Guarding what? They began to dig, not with shovels, not yet, but with bare hands, scratching at the edges of the mound. The calf trumpeted suddenly, shrill and wild, making the villagers stumble back in fear. It stamped once, hard, warning them away. The rescuer raised both hands in surrender. Easy, little one. Easy. The elephant calmed, though its body still shook with tension. Its trunk reached down, brushing the dirt, then curling protectively against its chest. The gesture was not random. It was deliberate, purposeful. The villagers whispered louder now, talk of omens, of buried treasures, even of spirits beneath the road. But the rescuers knew better. They had seen elephants mourn their dead, seen them stand vigil for hours. What if this calf was doing the same? The sun climbed higher. Heat shimmered off the road. Sweat dripped down the rescuers' backs as they tried again to coax the calf aside. They used ropes, tugging gently from behind. The animal resisted with a strength that seemed impossible. Its legs locked like stone pillars. Its cries rose into frantic screams. One rope snapped. The men staggered back, shaken. The lead rescuer pressed a hand to his chest, steadying his breath. He studied the calf's eyes, dark, wet, unblinking. There was no panic in them, only resolve. He whispered to his team, "It won't leave, not until we know why." They tried a different approach. A woman from the sanctuary, smaller, softer in her movements, stepped forward. She knelt on the dirt a safe distance away and began speaking in low, soothing tones. She sprinkled water on the ground, letting the calf see it soak into the dust. Slowly, she pushed the bucket closer. The calf sniffed once, but turned back to the earth beneath its body. The woman glanced at the rescuer. Whatever is here, it matters more than food, more than fear. He nodded grimly. The crowd thickened. Children perched on their father's shoulders. Elders leaned on walking sticks, watching with wary eyes. The tension in the air was palpable. Some urged the rescuers to leave the animal alone. Others demanded they drive it off the road. But the rescuers couldn't walk away. Something hidden beneath that calf's legs was pulling them closer, demanding answers. They brought out spades at last, careful not to strike too close. The first scrape of metal against soil made the calf trumpet again, but the woman's voice calmed it, a steady rhythm of murmured reassurance. Dust rose in clouds as they worked, inch by inch. The depression grew wider, deeper. The soil here was darker, richer, disturbed. Then one of the men froze. His spade had hit something soft. He pulled back instantly, hands trembling. The rescuer leaned over, brushing with his fingers. For a moment, he felt nothing but earth, then a faint shape, smooth, warm, not stone, not wood. He looked up sharply at the others. His voice dropped to a whisper. "There's something alive down here." The calf let out a long, mournful cry. As if confirming it, the villagers gasped. Some stepped back, fearful. Others leaned forward, desperate to see. The rescuers worked fast now, but every movement was measured. The calf's body loomed above them, trembling with anxiety. Its trunk swung dangerously close to their heads, but it never struck. It was waiting, watching. The depression deepened, and the outline beneath the soil grew clearer. A curve, a limb, a fragile shape pressed tight against the earth. The rescuer's chest tightened. He knew what it was, but he couldn't bring himself to say it aloud. Not yet. The woman placed a hand on the calf's leg, whispering again, her voice breaking with emotion. "You've been standing guard all this time, haven't you?" The baby elephant lowered its head, touching the ground with its trunk, a gesture almost like a bow. The rescuer swallowed hard. His hands shook as he dug at the final layer of dirt. The crowd held its breath, and then he saw it, a glimpse of gray skin. Fragile, still, another calf. The rescuer froze, his mouth dry. He turned to his team, voice cracking. "There's a baby trapped under here." The crowd erupted, shouts of disbelief, cries of horror. Children clung to their mothers, wide-eyed. The calf above let out a roar so mournful it silenced everyone. The rescuers knelt in the dirt, hearts pounding, staring at the half-buried body beneath the soil. They didn't know if it was alive. They didn't know if they were too late. But one thing was certain. This baby elephant had been guarding its sibling all along. The earth lay torn open at their feet. One calf stood trembling. Another lay half buried, its small gray body pressed into the soil, ribs faint beneath its skin. Alive or dead, they still could not tell. The lead rescuer raised his hand, signaling the others to stop digging. His breath was uneven. The crowd behind him had grown restless, but their voices blurred into a dull hum. His focus was only on the calves. The standing elephant swayed, side to side, trunk reaching down as if trying to shield the buried sibling from human hands. Each sway was rhythmic, almost hypnotic, but in its eyes was a silent plea. "Don't take me away from this spot." The rescuers exchanged glances. They had dealt with injured adults before, but this was different. This was a child refusing to abandon another child. A rescuer walked the edge of the road, scanning the ground. That was when he noticed them. Faint imprints pressed into the dust, leading away from the depression. Elephant tracks. Larger ones. Adults. He crouched, running his fingers along the ridges. The edges were sharp, not softened by wind or time. They were recent. His voice was low, urgent. The herd was here. The others turned. Fear passed between them like a silent spark. Elephant herds did not abandon calves. If these tracks led away, something had driven them, something dangerous. The villagers began to murmur. Some said the herd had fled hunters. Others whispered of predators lurking in the forest. The older men warned that if the herd returned now, they might see the humans as a threat and charge. The rescuers stood in the dust, torn. They could follow the tracks, search the mother, and risk leaving the calves behind. Or they could stay and risk losing the trail forever. The woman knelt again beside the standing calf. Its sides heaved. Its ears twitched but did not lift. She pushed the bucket of water closer. Its trunk brushed the rim, then pulled back. It would not drink. She whispered, voice breaking, "You're waiting for her, aren't you?" The calf shifted its weight, swaying harder, rocking like a child trying to lull itself to sleep. Dust rose around its feet. Its entire body radiated one message: I won't move, not until my family returns. The rescuers debated in hushed tones. We can't split the team. If we don't track the herd, the calves won't survive. If we leave, this one will die before letting us near. Every option carried risk. The sun was falling toward the trees now, painting the dirt road in a deeper gold. Time was slipping away. The lead rescuer wiped his brow, staring at the tracks stretching into the distance. They curved toward the forest, swallowed by the shadows of tall grass and tangled roots. His instinct screamed at him to follow, but his heart told him to stay. The calf gave a long, low rumble, its voice vibrating through the ground. It was calling to something far away. The sound rolled over the fields, carried by the evening air. The villagers fell silent. Even the children, who had been restless and fidgeting, stopped to listen. It was a sound of grief, of hope, of a voice too young to understand loss, yet refusing to let go. One rescuer finally stepped toward the tracks, determination on his face. I'll follow them, just for an hour. If I don't find signs of the herd, I'll return. The lead rescuer shook his head firmly. No, alone you'll never come back. The forest beyond the village was not safe. Not at dusk. Too many stories of hunters waiting, of snares hidden in the underbrush, of predators stalking the edges of elephant trails. Still, the tracks were fresh. The mother could be close. The woman stood, brushing dirt from her knees. Her eyes were on the swaying calf. We need to earn its trust before we can move forward. If it doesn't let us near, we can't help the one beneath. And if the herd returns and finds us too close, she trailed off. The ending was too grim to finish aloud. The men nodded. None wanted to provoke an elephant charge. The standing calf suddenly trumpeted again, sharp and broken. Its trunk swept the dirt violently, scattering soil over the buried body. Then it stopped and pressed its forehead against the ground, as though in prayer. The rescuer's throat tightened. He recognized that gesture. Elephants did it at graves. He swallowed. It's not just guarding. It's mourning. The woman shook her head. Not yet. It hasn't given up. It wouldn't be calling like that if it thought the other was gone. The debate cut deep through the rescuers' resolve. Their training had prepared them for broken bones, dehydration, poaching wounds. Not this. Not the raw, unwavering love of one calf refusing to abandon another. The crowd began to thin as dusk deepened. Lanterns flickered on porches. Mothers led their children home. But the rescuers stayed, crouched in the dirt, listening to the calves' cries. Every sound carried meaning. Every sway of its body spoke louder than words. I will not leave, not until you see what I see, not until you help. The tracks leading into the forest waited, tempting them with the promise of answers. But the calves' eyes held them where they were, as surely as chains. One rescuer finally whispered, almost to himself, "This is a choice between chasing the herd or staying with the truth right here." The lead rescuer clenched his fists. His gaze shifted between the forest shadows and the trembling calf. The night air cooled around them. The cries of the young elephant rose into the dark, unanswered. The team knew they could not do both, and time was running out. The road was silent except for the calves' breathing. Each exhale came in trembling bursts, as though the small body was carrying the weight of the world. The rescuers crouched low, lantern light flickering across their faces. They had all seen it now, gray skin beneath the dirt, fragile, still, Another calf, buried shallow, hidden as if the earth itself had swallowed it. The standing elephant swayed harder, its trunk sweeping dust over its sibling as if to shield it from strange hands. Its rumble grew louder, rising into a warning cry that vibrated through the ground. The villagers clutched one another, whispering prayers. The lead rescuer's jaw clenched. It's alive. It has to be. But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at him. The buried calf hadn't moved, hadn't cried out. Only the standing sibling's unbroken vigil gave him hope. The woman knelt again, speaking in that same steady rhythm of comfort. We're here to help. We won't take you away. We just want to reach the one you're guarding. The calf's ears twitched, but it didn't step aside. Its trunk lowered, stroking the dirt where the sibling lay, as if saying, "This is mine, protect." The rescuers gathered tools, but each motion was cautious. They had to dig, but not too fast, not too close, or the standing calf might panic. One misstep, one shove of its body, and the buried calf could be crushed. The men began at the edges of the depression, loosening soil in silence. Every scrape of a spade was answered with a nervous trumpet from the little guard. The woman stayed near its side, whispering. Her voice became the anchor in the chaos, a fragile thread keeping fear from breaking loose. The work was painfully slow. The earth gave way in clumps, each one revealing more of the sibling below. First a leg, then part of the flank, then the curve of a trunk, limp against the soil. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Children clutched their mothers. Some villagers turned away, unable to watch. The rescuers froze when they saw the trunk. It did not move. No twitch. No breath. The lead rescuer's throat tightened. Check for airways. Carefully, one man knelt, brushing dirt gently from the calf's face. He held his hand near the trunk, waiting. The world seemed to stop. The standing elephant let out a deep, broken squeal, as though urging him on. Then, faint, a shudder, a thin rush of air. Alive. Relief swept through the rescuers, though none dared celebrate. The buried calf was breathing, but shallow, weak. Its skin was dry, its body thin. It had been trapped for too long. The lead rescuer gave quiet orders. We'll clear the soil slowly. Keep the sibling calm. No sudden moves. The digging resumed, but each time they leaned too close. The standing calf pressed forward, blocking their hands, eyes blazing with warning. The woman raised her palms. "Look at me," she whispered to the little guard. "They're not stealing. They're saving." She placed her hand on the soil near the sibling's face and tapped lightly. The calf's gaze followed, then returned to hers. Slowly, she pushed a small pile of dirt aside with her own hand, then backed away, showing there was no harm. The young elephant hesitated. Its trunk lowered. It mimicked her motion, brushing a bit of dust from its sibling's body. The rescuers froze, stunned. The calf was helping. They worked in a fragile rhythm, then, human and elephant, each scoop of soil was matched by the calf's hesitant touch. Minutes stretched into hours. The stars brightened overhead. Lanterns burned low. Piece by piece, the trapped calf's body was revealed. Its legs were bent awkwardly in the shallow pit, scraped from thrashing. Its skin was marked with cuts from roots and stones. But it was alive. One rescuer whispered, voice tight with awe. It must have fallen. The herd couldn't pull it free. They left, but this one stayed. The lead rescuer swallowed hard. His eyes shone in the lantern light. It chose to guard its twin instead of following. It's been here the whole time. The crowd murmured, voices tinged with shame. Hours earlier, they had called the calf cursed. A bad omen. Now they saw it for what it was. A child refusing to abandon family. The rescuers dug until their hands blistered, sweat dripping into the soil. Each movement revealed more of the small body, fragile but breathing. The standing calf grew restless at times, trumpeting, stamping. But the woman's voice calmed it each time, a lullaby in the darkness. Finally, the pit was clear enough. The rescuers slid their hands under the trapped calf's body. It was light, too light for its age, ribs sharp against their palms. Weak moans escaped its throat as they shifted its weight. The standing sibling panicked then, letting out a piercing scream. It shoved forward, nearly knocking one rescuer off balance. Its trunk wrapped tight around the other's arm, pulling hard. The man froze, gritting his teeth. It thinks we're taking away. The lead rescuer's voice cut through the panic. Don't fight it. Let it see. The woman stepped closer, her hand trembling but steady. She guided the man to lower the trapped calf gently back into the pit, showing they were not stealing, only helping. The standing elephant watched, ears quivering. Its trunk brushed its sibling's side, touching the fragile body. The moan came again, weak but alive. Only then did the little guard release the man's arm. The rescuers regrouped. They could not carry the calf out without the siblings' permission. Every action had to be shown, explained in gestures the animal could understand. They laid fresh leaves at the edge of the pit, forming a soft path. They dug wider, smoother, making space for a gentle lift. The woman demonstrated again, hands open, moving soil aside, then pulling back to let the calf see. At last, the standing elephant stepped aside half a pace. Not far, just enough. It was all the permission they needed. With quiet grunts, the rescuers lifted the trapped calf free, cradling its frail body in their arms. Its head lolled, eyes half closed. Breath rattled in its chest. But it was alive. The standing sibling pressed in, trunk draped across its twin, crooning in low, broken notes. The road was filled with the sound of elephants speaking a language deeper than words. Love, relief, sorrow, all at once. The villagers stood in stunned silence. No one whispered curses now. No one called the calf a bad omen. What they saw was devotion, fiercer than fear, greater than hunger. The lead rescuer looked at his team. His voice was raw. We've freed it, but if we can't find the mother, both of them may still die. His gaze shifted to forest, where the tracks had disappeared into the night. The choice loomed again. Follow the herd, or stay and nurse two dying calves with nothing but human hands. The little guard pressed its trunk to its twin's cheek, swaying in exhaustion. It had stood for hours, maybe days, waiting for this moment. But the real fight had only just begun. The trapped calf lay limp on the ground, its body weak and trembling. Each breath came ragged, like wind slipping through cracked wood. Beside it, the standing sibling pressed close, trunk draped protectively across its twin side. Its eyes glistened in the lantern glow, wide with fear and exhaustion. The rescuers had freed the calf, but now came the harder part, keeping it alive. The villagers began to step forward, carrying buckets of water, baskets of leaves, tools for digging. The news had spread across the settlement. 2 elephants, babies, fighting for life on their road. What had started as whispers of curses and omens was now a gathering of desperate faces, each person wanting to help. The lead rescuer raised his hands. Slowly. No sudden movements. Every sound, every touch matters now. The villagers obeyed, though their nerves were clear. Even the smallest stumble made the standing calf trumpet an alarm, trunk swinging wildly to keep them back. The woman moved first, kneeling at the edge of the circle. She pushed a bucket of water forward and dipped her hand inside. Then, gently, she let droplets fall across the dry lips of the trapped calf. The little one stirred faintly. Its trunk twitched. A soft rumble escaped its chest. The standing sibling leaned in, sniffing the water, then brushing its trunk over the droplets as if testing them. When no harm came, it lowered its head and nudged its twin closer to the bucket. A hush spread over the crowd. The calf was letting them help. They began carefully. Wet cloths pressed against cracked skin, leaves offered near their trunks. But the trapped calf was too weak to eat. Its breaths were shallow, fading. The standing sibling grew restless again. Every time a rescuer leaned too close, it squealed and stamped, threatening to push them away. The lead rescuer crouched low, voice calm but urgent. It thinks we'll take it. We need to show we're here for both. He motioned to the villagers. Together, they laid piles of fresh leaves in a circle, equal distance from each calf. A gesture of fairness. No favorites. No theft. The standing elephant sniffed the nearest pile. Slowly, hesitantly, it pulled a branch into its mouth and chewed. The sound, crunch, chew, swallow, was like thunder in the silence. The rescuers exchanged glances of relief. If one ate, the other might follow. But time was slipping. The trapped calf's eyes fluttered, closing too long between breaths. The lead rescuer's voice cracked as he spoke. "We have to lift it. Get it standing. If it doesn't rise soon, its lungs." He didn't finish. The weight of the words was enough. The team moved closer with ropes and cloth. At once, the standing calf panicked, trumpeting so loud it rattled the windows of nearby houses. It charged, shoving one man back onto the dirt. The villagers gasped. Some pulled children away, ready to flee, but the woman held her ground. Her voice rose above the chaos, steady, soothing. She held her arms wide, palms open, showing nothing in her hands. "Look," she whispered, though the calf could never understand her words. "We're not stealing. We're giving." She lowered herself to the ground, sitting cross-legged, unarmed, unthreatening. The calf froze, trembling, trunk reaching toward her cautiously. It brushed her shoulder, searching for lies. She did not move. Behind her, the team slid the ropes gently beneath the weak calf's belly. Inch by inch, every motion deliberate. The standing sibling huffed, stamping once, but did not strike. It was watching the woman. Trust, thin as glass, was holding it still. "Lift," the lead rescuer whispered. The team pulled together, grunting with the strain. The limp body rose slowly, legs dangling useless. They steadied it, guiding its feet toward the ground. The calf wobbled, collapsed, tried again. Its knees buckled, but the rescuers caught it. The standing sibling cried out, circling in frantic sways. Its trunk wrapped around its twin's neck, holding it up, refusing to let it fall. The rescuers stepped back, breathless. They had meant to carry. Instead, the siblings carried each other. Minutes bled into an hour. The weak calf managed to stay upright, only by leaning against its sibling. The villagers formed a ring around them, silent witnesses. The earlier fear and suspicion had melted into awe. One old man shook his head, tears streaking his cheeks. "We thought it was cursed. All this time it was protecting." The children whispered each other, eyes wide. A boy tugged his mother's hand. It stayed so its brother wouldn't die. The mother pressed her lips to his hair, whispering back, "That's what love looks like." The rescuers knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The calves needed milk. They needed strength. Without their herd, their chances were slim. The lead rescuer turned to the villagers. "We have to move them to the sanctuary. Tonight, before their bodies shut down." Murmurs rippled. Some were afraid. The herd might return, and if they found the calves gone, their wrath could be dangerous. Others nodded, determined to help. The woman stood, dust streaking her face. She looked at the pair of calves leaning into each other, trembling but alive. "We don't have a choice," she said softly. "If we wait for the herd, we may be waiting for ghosts." The villagers gathered ropes, carts, blankets. The calves watched every motion with unblinking eyes. The standing one trumpeted nervously as the cart drew near, placing its body between the rescuers and its twin. The woman stepped forward again, holding out a soft blanket. She laid it gently across the ground, far from the calves, then backed away, an offering. The standing calf hesitated. Then, slowly, it reached down and pulled the blanket with its trunk, dragging it closer to its sibling. A gift accepted. The rescuers moved as one, sliding the weak calf onto cart. The standing sibling followed immediately, climbing up awkwardly beside it. It refused to be left behind. The villagers gasped. The rescuers smiled through tears. For the first time, the calf was not resisting. It was choosing. The cart creaked as it began to move. Lanterns bobbed in the dark, lighting the road toward the sanctuary. The villagers walked behind, silent, reverent, as if escorting royalty. On the cart, the siblings leaned into one another, trunks intertwined, bodies pressed close. Every bump, every jolt, the standing calf steadied the other, whispering with soft rumbles only they could understand. The rescuers walked alongside, hearts heavy with exhaustion, but lifted by awe. They had earned the animal's trust not by force, but but by patience, by surrender, by proving themselves worthy. And now, together, they carried two fragile lives into the night. But somewhere beyond the fields, deep in the forest, the herd's tracks still waited. Would they find the mother before it was too late? Or had the calves already lost her forever? The rescuers could not yet know. The cart rattled over the dirt road, lantern light, swaying with each turn. The villagers walked in silence. The only sounds a creak of wheels and the soft rumbles of the elephants pressed together on the wooden bed. The weaker calf slumped heavily against its sibling. Each rise of its chest was shallow, as if every breath cost more than it could give. Its trunk twitched faintly, curling now and then around its twins, holding on even in weakness. The standing calf never wavered, even exhausted. It leaned close, trunk wrapped tight, a living brace keeping the other upright. The rescuers marched beside the cart, their bodies aching but their eyes never leaving the pair. They had witnessed devotion fiercer than anything they had imagined. Two babies alone in the world, choosing love over fear, sacrifice over survival. And still, the question lingered. Where was the herd? By dawn, the caravan reached the edge of the sanctuary. Birds called from the trees. Mist clung to the grass. Volunteers rushed forward with buckets of water, soft hay, and warm blankets. The calves were lowered gently to the ground. The weak one collapsed at once, legs folding beneath it. The sibling collapsed too, not from weakness but from exhaustion, as though refusing to stand taller than the one it had protected. Side by side, they lay in the dust, their trunks touched, curling and uncurling like clasped hands. The rescuers stood back, unable to speak. Some wiped their eyes. Others simply bowed their heads. The villagers who had followed now gathered at the fence. They had called the calf cursed, an omen of misfortune. But in that moment, they saw what it truly was, a child who had given everything to guard its family. Hours passed. The weak calf stirred more often, lifting its head, sniffing the air. Water dripped from its lips as the volunteers coaxed it to drink. A faint squeal broke from its throat, thin but alive. The sibling answered at once, trumpeting a short, sharp cry. It pressed its forehead against the others, rumbling low and steady. A promise. Hope spread through the sanctuary like fire. The calves were alive, both of them. Yet the lead rescuer knew survival was fragile. Without their herd, the odds were grim. Calves needed milk, guidance, protection. Human hands could not replace an elephant mother's strength. He looked toward the forest, the shadowed trees that stretched beyond the fields. "They're out there," he whispered. "Somewhere. She's looking for them." That evening, as the sun sank into the horizon, the air trembled with a sound none expected. A low, resonant rumble. Distant, carried through the ground more than the air. The calves froze. Their ears lifted, their bodies shuddered. They answered at once with piercing trumpets. Cries filled with desperate recognition. The rescuers' hearts jumped. The rumble came again, closer now, stronger. The ground seemed to shake beneath their feet. From a forest edge, shadows moved, enormous, silent. The herd. The villagers gasped as the shapes emerged. Dozens of elephants, their bodies massive in the fading light. At their head walked a female, her tusks worn, her eyes burning with intent. Her pace quickened when she saw the calves at the sanctuary's edge. The two little ones screamed, trumpeting with joy so loud it echoed across the valley. They stumbled forward, legs shaking, yet driven by something greater than strength. The standing calf pressed itself against the weaker sibling, half lifting, half carrying it toward the gate. The rescuers threw the gates wide. The mother rushed in, her trunk sweeping low, wrapping around both calves at once. She rumbled, a sound that vibrated through every chest in the sanctuary, a sound of fury turned to relief, of loss turned to reunion. The calves collapsed against her legs, trunks searching, pressing into her skin, climbing her body as if to prove she was real. The weaker one cried weakly, and she answered with a roar that shook the ground. Every elephant in the herd lifted its voice, trumpeting in a chorus, so powerful the villagers dropped to their knees. The rescuers stepped back, tears running freely. They had freed the calf from the pit. They had carried it through the night. But in the end, the truest rescue came from the bond no human could replace. The mother bent low, her trunk stroking each calf in turn. The standing sibling leaned into her touch at last. Eyes closing, its vigil finally ended. For the first time in days, it let go. The weak one sagged into her side. Alive, safe, home. The villagers watched in silence, shame mixed with awe in their eyes. They had feared what they did not understand. Now they saw love so fierce it stood against hunger, against exhaustion, against death itself. One elder spoke softly, voice breaking. We doubted, we cursed, but the calf, it showed us what devotion means. A child whispered to his father, would you wait for me if I were lost? The man knelt, pulling him close. Always. As night fell, the herd lingered at the sanctuary, their shadows vast against the lantern glow. The mother stood tall, calves pressed against her body. The rescuers dared not approach. This moment belonged to them alone. The woman whispered, tears in her throat. It never abandoned hope. It stood guard until the end. The lead rescuer nodded, and it saved its family because of it. When the herd finally turned back toward the forest, the calves went with them, stumbling but supported by their mother's strength. The villagers lined the road, silent, reverent, as the great shapes faded into the trees. Only the echoes of their trumpets remained. In the end, the road where the calf had first stood was just a stretch of dust again. But for those who had witnessed it, the memory lingered. A baby who refused to move, a sibling who refused to leave. Not cursed, not an omen, a lesson that sometimes love itself is the strongest form of courage.